because when I forget to record, then I get to go back and do it all over again and record it. Let's see, and make sure one more thing is set here real quickly. Okay, now this time I think we're ready to go. So let's remove this and get over to this week's lab. This week is an introduction to the concept of packages. A package we put together into a single package those things that are likely going to be used together. There's a lot of advantages to this that you'll read about in this week's reading, but one of the key advantages is performance. I put procedures A, B, and C into a package. I put them into a package because if I call A, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to call B and C. As soon as I call one of the procedures in the package, the entire package becomes memory resident. And so now as I call the other packages or procedures in that package, I'm calling compiled code that is memory resident. It is the best of all worlds from a performance perspective. Uh, Packages are the preferred methodology for implementing PL/SQL. And we're going to be using packages now throughout the remainder of the course. Uh, in the One more thing I wanted to mention on that. Where did I put my note? Uh, in the announcement this week, I do give you a brief introduction to packages. Another of the key reasons for packages is what we refer to as overloading. Overloading says I'm going to have multiple procedures or multiple functions or a combination thereof, each that have the same name but a different set of parameters. I'll get into more detail on all of this, okay? Uh, but that says now I can use one procedure name, but I can call it using a different parameter set and get a different result. Overloading is used very heavily internal to Oracle. The package that we've been using this week called DBMS Output has multiple overloaded procedures. To really understand packages, the reading this week is vitally important to you. The reading that's important is chapter 9, pages 348 to 384. It's only, I think, what does that amount to? About 36 pages? But it'll really help you to gain a better understanding of packages than I can give you in the next 30 minutes of walking through the lab. So please make sure you do that reading. So coming down, the first thing we're going to do, and I told you we would be doing this in every lab for the rest of the semester, is we need to run the script videostore.sql. Yes, I know that the tables are already out there, but remember last week we inserted rows into them. So the video store .sql actually drops all of the old tables, builds a fresh new set of tables. So we've got a fresh set of tables each time we start a new lab. Now this past week, several of you, when you submitted your code and your output, submitted it with several runs in mind. I would see Lencher 2 or 3 or 4 times. I would see the other couple of guys 2, 3, or 4 times. If at any time you want to refresh your tables, you don't have to, except at the start of each lab. If you want to refresh your tables, just rerun this script because again, it drops and rebuilds the tables, giving you a fresh set. All right, the first part of this is just setting up the tables. We've done that now many times, and we don't have to do that anymore because our tables are now all pre-built for us. using the script videostore.sql. So let's come on down to where we start talking about the package. A package consists of two pieces, referred to as the specification and the body. In the specification, I put the information that I need to know in order to call a procedure within that package. Well, what I need to know is the name of the procedure and the names and required set of parameters. So here, excuse me. So here now we're going to create a package. Create or replace package. We've done a create or replace function, a create or replace procedure. And I'm going to create a procedure called Sylvester. It consists of two procedures. Notice each procedure is called Warner Brother. This is overloading. And overloading is a very common usage of packages. But notice that the set of parameters is different. The first procedure is expecting an alphanumeric parameter as its third parameter. The second one is expecting a numeric parameter as its third parameter. Different set of parameters is what distinguishes the difference between the two procedures. Now, I keep saying procedures, and we'll continue to do so. This could be two functions. It could be a procedure and a function, any combination thereof. Okay. So this is now the package specification. It specifies those procedures that we're going to use. What we put into the specification, and I'm going to go to the code that we're actually going to be using, if I can find it and pop it up. Whoops, that's not what I wanted at all. This is the one I want. So we have, in week 8, we created procedure insert contact. The specification of the procedure is everything from the keyword procedure down to, but not including, the keyword is. So it's the keyword procedure, the name of the procedure, and a list of parameters that this procedure is expecting to receive. It's referred to as the definition of the procedure, the specification of the procedure. It goes under lots of different names. But again, notice that it's telling me exactly what I need to know in order to call this procedure. I need to know its name, and I need to know what set of parameters it's expecting to receive. Okay. So with that in the back of your mind now, let's go down to the body. The body is the actual code for each of the procedures that I've declared up here in the specification. Notice that our package specification is called Sylvester. Our package body, create or replace package body, is also called Sylvester. That's what ties the two pieces together. Now, you can actually put them into a single block of code, and for the purposes of our lab, that's probably the easiest way to do it. Real world, we always separate them, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Dependency is the key issue, and you'll read about that again in the reading this week. Now, notice a couple of things. Up in the package specification, we have the declaration of the procedure. Notice no slash, no and, no anything. Then we declare the definition of the next procedure. Then we end the package. Now, the package does not have to have the name of the package on it, but it's strongly, strongly recommended, as I'll show you in more detail as we look at the body. Coming on down, we then create the body. And this is now actually the entire block of code for the Warner Brother procedure. And again, we specify the definition of the procedure. Well, now wait a minute. We just declared that up here in the specification. Do we need to do it again? Yes. Again, it ties the two pieces together. And what you have in the package body for the definition of that procedure that I've got highlighted here must exactly match what you've got up in the package specification. They must match exactly in terms of uppercase, lowercase, carriage returns, the whole 9 yards. They must match exactly. So build your procedure specification, then copy from the specification down to the body. And if you copy and paste, you know that they're going to match exactly. Strongly, 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 strongly recommend that you copy from the specification down to the body. Otherwise, if they do not match, then you get a nasty error message that says, "Hey, you've got something down here you've got something up here in the specification that you've not declared down here in the body." If you see that message, chances are those two pieces don't match exactly. Copy from the spec, paste to the body. And then down here in the body, we have the complete procedure. And this is exactly what we looked at last week when we were looking at the preparation material. Down to the end of the procedure. And again, I don't have to put the name on the end of the procedure, but I strongly recommend that you do. It makes it very easy to see where this procedure began and this procedure ends. Then notice no slash. If you have a slash, it's going to end the body, and the rest of it will be garbage. It'll ignore it. It won't even look at it. And so then we have the second procedure. Again, notice the same name, but the first procedure used a numeric parameter as the third parameter. The second procedure, I went too far. User ID. There's my second start. The second procedure is expecting an alpha. And then I have the code for the second procedure. Then I end the second procedure. I end the package, and then I have a slash. And that slash will compile both of the procedures. Okay. Okay so far. Now, one more critical piece while I'm here. If you put these into one text file, and again, that'll be the easiest way to do it for this lab, and that's fine. Make sure that your package specification compiles clean first. I very frequently will see people down here in the body looking for the errors that were thrown, the errors, compile errors that were thrown as part of that compile. When in fact, the error is actually up here in package specification. If this package specification does not compile clean, the package body will never compile clean. So always, always, always get your specification compiled clean first, and then come back and add your body and compile your body. The same thing is true with procedures inside of packages as everything else we've talked about. Remember to always comment out the exception section until you get your code working. The when others is going to capture all errors, including the errors that you need to see. Okay. Then let's make sure I've covered all the pieces I need to cover. Okay. Then we're going to test it. Now, because our procedure called Warner Brother is now inside our package called Sylvester, when we call that procedure, we have to call it by specifying the name of the package it resides in, dot the name of the procedure. Okay. Uh, just a little bit different in the way that you're going to call it, and pass it the required parameter values. Call the second one, this time with the user ID, and execute it. And in this case, this would be your output. Now, to the actual lab. The starting point of this lab is Lab 8. So if you do not have Lab 8 working, contact me, contact Edgar immediately, and let us help you get your Lab 8 working. That's your starting point. What you're going to do is copy the Lab 8 procedure, and that becomes the procedure that you're going to use inside your package body. This describes that it's the same thing that we looked at back in Lab 8. We're going to accept a bunch of parameters and split them across 5 tables. Oops, I went too far, didn't I? Okay. Here he gives you the entire package specification. You can copy this exactly as is, compile it, and you've got your specification completed. Notice that the first procedure is expecting a numeric parameter. The last procedure is expecting an alpha parameter. Same name, different set of procedures. Different set of parameters. Okay. Make sure that compiles clean before you go any farther. Then again, it says, okay, here's now what you're going to do. You're going to build a contact insert procedure. It's the same thing we did in Lab 8. And so your starting point is Lab 8. Leveraging the insert contact procedure that you wrote in W8 Oracle Lab. We're going to change it a little bit, but that's the essence. That's probably 95% of the procedure. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I come on down now. The first contact in procedure should be the only procedure that contains DML commands. In other words, you're going to be doing your inserts in the first procedure. I'll leverage that in just a minute. Okay. So you're going to create a replace package body. And you're going to, this is an exact copy from last week, or from week 8. So remember you had a function that gets the system user ID. You'll still have that local function. Okay. And then you're going to have your contact procedure. Now we're going to change one thing here. We're going to change it so that we do the user ID first. And I'll show you why here as we get into the next procedure. And then it doesn't give you much code here because that code is copied exactly as is from Lab 8. You'll make one change to it that I'll talk about. Then your second procedure is going to pass in an alphanumeric parameter called username. And again, he doesn't give you much here. So let's see, and I think I may have skipped a piece or two. Where did it go? Okay, yeah. So what you're going to do in the second one, since he doesn't give you much detail there, username, the second procedure, calls user ID, the first procedure, after converting the username to a system user ID. Remember that we did this last week, week 8. I keep saying last week, in week 8. So you're going to pass in a username, and then we're going to go to the system user table and get the user ID for that username. We're going to do that using the get system user ID procedure, which is given to you. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place, which is given to you in the lab in its entirety. So you're going to have a procedure, you're going to have procedure insert contact with its parameters list. That's a direct copy out of the package specification. Then you're going to build a variable and default it to 0. Then you're going to take leave system user ID, that's the variable that we built right here, and we're going to call get system user ID function and pass it the username. It's going to pass back to us a user ID. Then we're going to use that information when we test it. So I'm going to call account creation insert contact, package name, period, procedure name, pass it the appropriate set of parameters, and then I'm going to take this leave system user ID that we generated right up here after the begin, and we're going to set PV user ID to leave system user ID. And then we're going to do a call to the first procedure. The first procedure will then take that now user ID. The first procedure is going to be expect a user ID, and it's going to process that user ID. Okay. Okay. So I just needed to check one thing there. So I'll get to a summary here in just a minute and answer any questions you've got. Let's just go a little bit farther with this, and then we'll do that summary. Let's see. Okay, up here. Okay, this is my package body for account creation. My package specification is given to you in its entirety. Its name is account creation. Same name ties the two pieces together. Copy exactly what you have here in the specification, paste it down to the body. And then in the body, you're going to have the anonymous function, the local function called get system user ID. And then you're going to have the procedure, and this is copied exactly from the specification. And then the other pieces exactly as it is in Lab 8. Now, notice why I'm saying if you don't have your Lab 8 running correctly, please, please, please get a hold of us immediately and let us help you get it running. Okay? Then remember that you just end that first procedure, no slash. If you have a slash, it'll terminate the body, and because you had two procedures in the specification and only one in the body, it throws all kinds of nasty errors. Then you're going to have the second procedure, and the second procedure, I've given you most of it. You're just going to grab the user ID, the username, from the parameters. Going to convert it to user ID. And then you're going to do a call out to the first procedure and pass it the necessary parameters, and the first procedure will actually do the inserts. So the first procedure has all of the inserts. It's that great big long code that you developed in Lab 8. The second procedure is actually relatively small. In addition to the parameter values that you're passing in, I think there's maybe less than 10 lines of code. Then you're going to end the procedure you're then going to end the package and the slash to execute the package. Then we'll drop into the test case, and all of the code is given you for the test case. There's nothing here that you have to develop on your own. So like we did uh, in week 8, is we need to update and set DBA to DBA 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, these are brand new tables, so you need to redo that. Then to make the code rerunnable, we're going to get rid of everything that we create as part of the procedure. Now, the first time you run it, you haven't got anything out there to delete. So the deletes will throw errors. That's okay. Don't worry about that. It just says you haven't got anything there to delete. Okay. Okay. Test your procedure by calling it. And when you call it, it is the name of the procedure package dot the name of the procedure. Inside the second procedure, you're going to have something very similar to this because remember, we're going to convert the username to a user ID. You will change this to PB user ID, pass it the user ID, and it will call the first procedure to actually do the inserts. And so you're going to call up the procedure twice. The first time with an alpha value, that should call the second procedure. The second time with a numeric parameter, that should call the first procedure. If both of them worked, there's the query that you're going to use. You should see 2 rows in your output. Let's do a quick summary. You're going to run the script to drop and create the tables. You're then going to create the package specification. It's given to you 100% in the lab instructions. Create the package body, and you're going to have 2 functions, the get lookup ID and the get member ID, which are copied from week 8. Then you'll have your procedure for the user ID. That's an exact copy from week 8, except you're going to change PB username to PB user ID. And down in the code, just before the selects, we've got a select system user ID into from. We don't need that anymore because we're passing in a user ID. We don't need to convert a username. So you're going to find that just before the inserts, get rid of it. That's your first procedure. Then you're going to build your second procedure, and that's for username. It'll have a local function called get system user ID, which we've already talked about, and then run the test case. As outlined in this week's announcement, what are you going to submit? You're going to submit the code for the account creation specification and body. I must see both. And then the results of the final query, which will show the results of the 2 tests. That's this piece right here. So you're going to submit to me the entire package, the specification and the body, and then the results of that last query. Okay. When you get into it, you've now got into one compilable block of code, 2 procedures. If you have problems, if you're getting error messages, it's sometimes hard to isolate just where those errors are occurring. Work on one piece at a time. Once you get one piece cleaned up, then start working on the second piece. Okay. Break it down into pieces when you're trying to debug it. Okay, I think that's it, unless you have questions.
Uh, Close to it, but after the recording, press stop on the recording. pretty much.
Say that again.
Once the recording is stopped.
It didn't stop. I don't believe, did it?
No, I meant once it stopped. Sorry.
Oh, you want it to be stopped?
Yeah, then I'll say my question. I just don't
If
want
it's a question that applies to everybody, then let's let it apply to everybody.
to. Okay. I'm just getting a little confused on where to pull from week 8 specifically. So everything that's below line 22 from that, so it is the sorry, rough week, pregnant wife, and I'm trying to. Yeah. But
So, what are you pulling from Lab 8? Is that question mark?
yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to put in for the first insert. Yeah, I was trying to
Uh,
follow along as you were
let
doing it.
hang on here for just a minute. Valid question. Let's drop down to the solution for Lab 8. Oh, that's not Lab 8, that's Lab 10.
Well, what for lab? When am I supposed to plot for week 8 into 10? Yes, because like I'm looking at my half of the code that got approved. So I'm trying to figure. I'm looking at the next half where the declare local var. It's a specific part for what week 8. But yeah,
Okay, here's the solution to Lab 8.
yeah. Okay, there's the
What you're going to
procedure.
copy is that entire procedure.
The top.
100% of that procedure exactly as you see it. Copy the whole. Oops, wait a minute. That's the. What, have I got the wrong thing? Hang on for a minute. I think I lied to you. No, this is the procedure. Okay, this is our contact in procedure. And so you're going to copy that entire procedure exactly as you see it. Exactly as your result was in Lab 8. Copy the whole thing. That's your starting point for Lab 10.
All the way until we get right before we get to the new inserts, right? Or the test your procedure for that, right?
Until the test. And so all the
Yes.
way down through the end.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go.
And then the two things you're going to change this select to convert the username to a user ID is just before the inserts. You're going to trash that. Then the other thing you're going to change is up here in the parameter list, you're going to change username to user ID.
Username to user ID. Okay.
PB username to PB user ID. That's the two changes you'll make. And that should give you your first procedure.
User
Okay.
ID. Okay. Yeah. Come into user
All
dash.
right. Don't spin your wheels. If you're having problems, let either Edgar or myself help you. Uh, remember, frustration is not allowed in my class. Before you get to that point, let's talk. Notice before you get to that point, let's talk. Okay. And with that, have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Brother Hinckley.